Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Saṅgham saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi saṅgham saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi saṅgham saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Pāṇātipātā vēramaṇī sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi. Adinādāna vēramaṇī sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi. Kāmesu miccācārā vēramaṇī sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi. Musāvādā vēramaṇī sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi. Surāmeraya majjapamā daṭṭhānā vēramaṇī sikkhapadam samadhiyāmi.
Imāni panca sikkhapadāni samadhiyāmi. Imāni panca sikkhapadāni samadhiyāmi. Imāni panca sikkhapadāni samadhiyāmi. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Everyone, please be seated. Thank you. Today, Reverend Dhammananda will deliver the Dhamma sermon entitled The Buddha as a Human.
Thank you very much for coming. Today our talk will be based on Buddha, a human being. Before that, we must understand why this topic is so significant, that today most of the sects of the Buddhism are considering a Buddha as a divine being, a supernatural being who came from the heaven to the earth So, instead of these supernatural matters which are beyond our comprehension, our understanding is based on, as a man, as a human being, how did the Buddha showed supernatural human nature? And of course, Buddha was bound to misunderstand. People misunderstood him, especially for the first time when they see him. They usually misunderstood that whether he is a divine being, a god, a devil, a naga, or a king. That's why when we see that after renunciation, he spent 7 days in the forest of Anupiya, mango forest. On the 8th day, he was found begging food in the streets of Rajagaha. When people looked at him, they were amazed. Who is this person? Among them, so much of discussions. Oh, this must be a divine being. This must be a king doing his rituals. Many other ideas were coming up. Even the king of Rajagaha sent messengers to see whether this is a human or not. And after that, we find, after the 6 years of penances, and especially after so many months of Dushkara Kriya, the hardest penances, Buddha was so emaciated, the Bodhisattva, so weak, so thin. He was sitting under a huge banyan tree. A girl from the nearby village come to this banyan tree regularly to offer milk rice to the deity on the tree, because that deity on the tree fulfilled one of her wishes. She promised to offer milk rice. Now she is continuously doing that. That day, when she was coming, the Bodhisattva was sitting under that tree. Early in the morning, the sun hasn't risen yet. When he see the Bodhisattva, the first thing came to her mind was, oh, this must be the deity on the tree. He has come down to accept my milk rice. She was so happy and offered that milk rice. Her thinking was, this must be the deity. After so much of difficult times, with an emaciated, weak, thin body, Bodhisattva was having a divine look. And after the enlightenment, of course, people really misunderstood him. And his appearance was so enchanting. Some people became monks just to look at the Buddha. They don't want Dhamma. They don't want to follow the Dhamma. They just wanted to see the Buddha. Buddha had to chase them away. Kinte vakkali mina putikayana dittena. What is vakkali? Seeing this disgusting body, go away. He had to chase them away. People became monks just to see the Buddha. That was his appearance. But even the Buddha's body was not superhuman. It is just a human body. It became weak, got old, got many sicknesses. But we usually don't see the old Buddha. We have no pictures, no sculptures, no statues of the old Buddha. But I find the old Buddha, 8-year-old Buddha, is more pleasant than the young Buddha. An old man with a smile, childlike smile. We cannot imagine that beauty of the old Buddha. That's why Venerable Ananda, he was massaging the shoulders of the Buddha. He says, "Oh Lord, I'm so sad about your body. It is so weak now. It is trembling. Wrinkles are there. I can't understand what happened to that beautiful figure of yours." Buddha says, "There is nothing to sad. This is my house. Now house is getting weak. I am only the guest in my house. I have to get out of this house because I am not the owner of the house. I have to go away." The house got old. The body never became enlightened. With the enlightenment, the body has nothing to do. Only the person inside the house, the body house, became enlightened. So, when we compare to the Dhamma, the Buddha's body is not so wonderful. Dhamma is so wonderful. That's why he says, "Yo dhammang passati, so mang passati." If anyone sees Dhamma, sees me. If you want to see the Dhamma, you want to see the Buddha. If you want to see the Buddha, you must see the Dhamma. Why the word see? They use the word see, passati, because Buddha is always telling us to see, not to think, but to see. If you think, with thinking you can go far and far away. But if you see, you can really understand it. Thinkers never become enlightened. They are just thinking. Only seers get enlightened. A blind man can think about the light for his whole life. Can he ever understand about light? No. For us, we don't need to think about light. We just see the light. When you see the light, you don't need to think about it. Enlightenment also same. So, that's why they use the word passati. Today, our thinking goes to a simple but very important aspect about this humanity of the Buddha. I will take little of it. It is not a time to speak whole of it, a little of it. Number one, if you meet Buddha on the way when you are going home, who will smile with you first? With you or the Buddha? The Buddha will smile with you first. Because Buddha is the one who is first to smile. First to smile. That is one beautiful characteristic of the Buddha. He is first to smile. In Pali we call Pubbahasi. Number one to smile. If you meet him, though you have never met him before, he will smile with you as if he know you for a long time. Now, why this quality important for us? Because we can do that. No need to get enlightenment to smile. Do you want to get enlightenment to smile? No. As a human being, living this normal life, day-to-day life, you can smile. But the trouble is, we cannot do that. Very difficult thing to smile. First, with the strangers. You will smile with the king of this country. If you meet him first, you will smile because he is the king. You will smile if you meet the prime minister in the country. You will smile first because they are important. Even I will do that. It is natural. But day-to-day life, when we meet people, known and unknown, can we do that? If we can do that, understand, we are following the Buddha. Buddha did that. No matter who is it, a king, a beggar, a normal man, rich man, poor man, whoever comes to him, Buddha smiles first. You know, smiling, laughing is the domain of the man. No other animal in the world can smile. Man is the only laughing animal, smiling animal. When you go home, if the dog smile with you, you might think something wrong. When you go into your work, if a donkey laughs with you, you might have a heart attack. Oh, something wrong. Because it cannot be happening. But man is always beautiful when he is smiling, not when he is frowning. When he is smiling, he is always beautiful. That is the beauty of the man. Let your laugh, let your smile be your music of your life. Let your troubles vanish with your laughter. Let the others be happy with a smile. You are showing your humanity. You are getting closer to the Buddha with your smile, with your laughter. Because Buddha is that. He smiles first. If you are doing a business, you are always associating with the customers. Whoever customer comes, if you smile with him first, naturally that customer will be coming back again. Your office must have a smiling receptionist than a frowning receptionist. To accept with a smile. When people come to Penang, there must be people at the airport. Accept, welcome with the smile. At the airports, there should be people to welcome with a smile, not to look at you like a thief. When we go to, especially when I am coming to Malaysia, with the orange color robe, they look at me as if a murderer coming, as if a thief is coming, because orange is the criminal's color. A criminal is coming to Malaysia. They look at us. But if you see that, think about yourself. When you go to a place, if they accept you with a smile, naturally you will be having a affinity to go there again. You will like to go that place again. You will be famous. You will have more friends. You will create friendships easily. If you are a businessman, your business, a lucrative business, you will get more business with a smile. So Buddha's just this human quality will enrich our lives. The second quality, he is first to speak, Pubbabhasi. He doesn't wait till the others to speak. Read the sutras. He is always speak first. How are you? His first question. He asks the well-being of the newcomer. If the guest is spoken first, that cannot be happen. The host should speak first. Then the guest is encouraged to speak. The Buddha becoming the host, he always speak first. That is the other quality that also attracts a lot of followers, friends. People usually like that kind of a person, speaking first, without waiting till the other to speak. Pubbabhasi. If you are really want to follow the Buddha, you can have this one of or each of qualities work inside your life. Then naturally your life is getting closer to the Buddha. The third quality, he is Pubbakari. That means first to act. Never waits till others command him, till others request him. He knows the time, he knows the demand, and he acts. Pubbakari. In our lives, as a chief in my temple, I like people, I like the monks, my students, the workers, the volunteers. If they act, work when the necessity arises without my request, I like it as the chief. It is same for everywhere. In any other department, in any of the government offices, the chief is always expecting his employers, the workers there to act without waiting for the command. Superiors are always like that. So if somebody in your work, if you do the necessity, you should act. Then the superiors' admirance is always with you. They like you. And your job getting higher and higher. Your position getting higher and higher. So this is Buddha's simple as a human that we can follow in our day-to-day life. These are simple matters. Pubbahasi, first to smile. Pubbabhasi, first to speak. Pubbakari, first to act. Just think about it. When you think about the Buddha, he is a person who always expecting mistakes of the people, weaknesses of the people. He never expects ideal, perfect people around him. Now we usually expect others to be perfect. Am I correct? Husband expects wife to be perfect. No mistakes, no weaknesses. Wife expects an ideal husband without mistakes and weaknesses. Parents expect ideal, without weaknesses, without mistakes, ideal children. We expect others to be perfect. Are we perfect? Others to be perfect? No, we are not perfect. But we expect others to be perfect. That is our nature. We never expect others to do mistakes. Oh, my husband might have weaknesses and mistakes. And he is having weaknesses and mistakes. And they bound to come up. Those weaknesses, mistakes bound to come up sooner or later. When you expect, oh, my husband might have weaknesses, mistakes, then when he does the mistakes and when the weaknesses come up, you do not worry much. You do not regret, why did I marry this man? Because you expected to have mistakes. So there is mistakes. There are weaknesses. You don't regret. You don't worry much. We usually make others' weaknesses our headache. Usually parents, their children's weaknesses, their headaches. Sometimes they are waiting till the children come to an age to kick out of the house to live a peaceful life. They are waiting. Sometimes the children come to an age. They cannot bear the weaknesses, mistakes of their children. Why? Expecting the children to be perfect. You won't get perfect people. Even Arahant is not a perfect person. Do you know that? Arahant is not a perfect person. Why? Now when we worship, we say, Itipiso Bhagava Araham. Araham means, there are so many meanings for Araham. One meaning is, Buddha doesn't have the habits that he practiced in the past lives. Okay? There are good habits, bad habits we had in our past lives. Naturally, they influence in this life. If the habits are bad and practiced repeatedly, naturally you will have the influence here. Buddha doesn't have that influence of bad habits. That's why we call him Araham. But we don't use this word for the Arahats, for the students of the Buddha, Arahants. We don't use that. Why? Arahants are bound to have those influences of habits. So much of story is there. One story. One day, a devotee, he wanted to give an dana, to do an almsgiving. Went to the temple, asked the Buddha, "Oh Lord, please let me take a monk, take a bhikkhu to my house to offer a dana." Buddha showed, "Okay, you can go with that venerable." The venerable monk is in front. The devotee is following him. The road is not a carpeted road. It is not even. There are uneven places. And previous night it has been raining. So there are places which are filled with muddy water, puddles of muddy water. When these muddy water puddles come, what does the monk do? He just jump over them to the next side. It seems he is very clever at jumping, long jump. He is very clever. He's jumping. What happened now? If you go to your home with a monk jumping all over the road, what happens to you? You will get fed up with this monk. Oh, I thought this is an arahant, but this is a bad behaving monk. That devotee is thinking. I will not offer this monk any requisites. I don't offer this monk any requisites. I will just offer the food. Then the monk stopped jumping. He just walked on the muddy water. The devotee was so confused. What is happening? Got closer to him. Asked him, "Bante, why don't you jump now?" Venerable says, "I jumped first. I missed the requisites. If I jump now, I will miss the food. So I don't jump now." Oh, he can read the minds. He's an arahant. What's happened? He was a monkey in a near former life. You know, if a monkey become an arahant, will he stop jumping? No, he will jump. He will jump. That's what happened. Former life habits influencing. So people mistook. Oh, they have weaknesses. They do mistakes. No, they are former life habits. How about the person you are with? The person next to you, the people at your home, people you are work with, are they arahants? No, they are not arahants. They are normal people. So much of weaknesses there are. If you look for these weaknesses and if you make these weaknesses your headache, what will happen to you? Depression, stress, unhappiness, sadness, that's all. But if you think, okay, this person has weaknesses, I must accept them. These are his weaknesses. Just accept their weaknesses. Buddha did that. Another story. In the Majjhima Nikaya, we find this sutra. A venerable, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. Even the sutra I can't remember. But I remember the story. It's very interesting. A venerable was appointed as a monk who has the most ability to prepare the seats, beds for the monks. At that time, in Chetavanaramaya, in Veluvanaramaya, these temples, hundreds, thousands of monks residing. They don't have separate rooms, a hall. They have only huge halls for the monks' residence. This venerable knows how to prepare the beds. He understands, these are arahants. These are the monks who are trying to be arahants. And in the sutra it says, there are monks who are engaging in frivolous talks, stories, tale-bearings. He understands them. He prepares the seat for those monks. And there are monks, in the sutra itself says, there were monks who were weightlifting, enlarging monks. Weightlifting monks. This is the Buddha's time. Buddha is residing in the temple. If I was the Buddha, I will throw those monks away. They are a bad name for me. But Buddha never did that. He just lived happily, peacefully, smiling, laughing with all these monks, good and bad. He did not want to keep the arahants only. He did not want to keep the good ones only. Good, bad, both were there. Why? He knows man is potential of doing mistakes and he is having weaknesses. He just accepts them. No worries, no troubles, no headaches. They have mistakes. Then the next point. Though the man is full of weaknesses, he is having so much of good qualities. He just look for them, their qualities, good qualities. Buddha is the one who always look for the good side. That is why the serial killer Angulimala became an arahant. Nobody would have thought Angulimala has the bodhicitta. Angulimala has ability, or in the Angulimala there is a sleeping arahant. Arahant asleep. In the Angulimala, only the Bhagavan understood that. Only the Buddha knew that, because Buddha is always looking for the good side. if we look at the good side of the people we are living with, what is the benefit? I dare say, if you look at the good side of the people you are living with, you can even live with devils without problems. You can live with, because devils have good qualities. But if you are looking for the bad side, ugly side, you cannot live with a deity, a God. Even with a God, you cannot live, because gods have weaknesses, mistakes. You cannot live with anybody. So look for the good side, look for the beauty, forget the ugly, forget the dustbin, forget the garbage, look for flowers, look for the good side. You can smile without any troubles, and you can honestly smile with anybody easily if you look for the good side. We will forgive. If a man kills thousands, no matter, we will forgive. But if somebody kills his own father, will we ever forgive? No. But Buddha said to this person who came to the Buddha in the middle of the night on a full moon day in a mango forest, Buddha was sitting with the other monks on a platform of rocks. Sky is the roof. There is nothing in the mango forest. This father killing son came to the Buddha, worshipped, sat aside, looked around. He says, Bhagavan, I was so sad when I was coming here, but now I feel so much of lightness inside me. I feel so happy. I feel your happiness. I feel the happiness emanating from these monks. But you have nothing. You are wearing a robe, collected pieces of clothes. You are only having the bowl made of clay, and you are not sure whether you will get your breakfast, your lunch tomorrow. You are not sure. There is no surety of food tomorrow. You might go hunger tomorrow. But I feel you are so happy. I am a king. I have everything at my hand. I am so powerful, but I am so sad. Please tell me, what is the secret for you to be so happy? The Buddha says, Atitam nanusochanti. We do not repent over the past. Past is a dead body, a garbage. We must take the lessons from the past, but we do not mull over it. We do not think over it again and again. We just forget it. And we do not dream over the future. The future is on the way. Making a plan for the future is one thing. Dreaming about future is another thing. We do not dream for the future. We just concentrate for this moment. We live moment to moment, moment to moment. We just live this moment with awareness, with sati. We live this moment. That is our secret. He says, You did a great crime, I know, but it is useless to the past crime to bring to the present. Forget it. Try to do good things. Try to attend to good matters. Then your suffering, your sadness will reduce. The king took this advice into his heart. From that moment, he just seeking good things and did lot of good things. Even he became the protector, guardian of the first council, Sangha council, the father killing person. The Buddha's advice. Even Buddha saw in this person, he has the potential to be good. There is a good side of him. Just ask him to wake up that good side. This is Buddha. He always look for the good. Next quality. And he praises the good, admires the good. He just admires the good deeds of the others. He is a great admirer. By admiring, he makes the people correct, good people. Now your children, when they do good things, just admire it. When you admire, when you praise it, usually the children like admiring. Don't you like? Don't you like if somebody admires you? We like it. We like admirations. So use these admirations to correct the children, to increase their good qualities. One day, Buddha was invited to a almsgiving, to a almsgiving in a home close to his temple. The inviter, the man, was not a good character in that area. Even the monks in the temple knew about him, a notorious character. Buddha went with several monks to that dana. After the dana, it is the customary to give a short Dhamma talk. That day Buddha himself gave the talk. And in that talk there is no Dhamma, only the admirations. The monks were amazed. Clearly the Buddha mustn't do this. Oh, he doesn't know about this man. We must tell him about this man in this evening. So in the evening, in the Dhamma hall, the monks started giving a report about this man's bad character to the Buddha. Buddha stopped them. I know. Don't tell me. I know about this man. I know his bad character. But this time he did the great job. He did a good thing. He might have done 10,000 of bad things. But now, today, he did a great job. He did a great thing. Dana, offered a dana. So what is the wrong about it? I just praised it, admired it. He might have done 10,000s. Today a good thing I admired. While the discussion was going on, a person was coming. Oh, that man is coming back. He came to the Buddha and invited, Lord, please try to come tomorrow to my home for a dana. He's asking again. Why is he asking Buddha to come? To listen to that admirations, step by step, little by little, this man became a very pious, a good person. He reduced his bad side, increased his good side. No miracles, no Dhamma, just by admirations he created a good person. He made a good person just through admirations, nothing else. This is the Buddha. With admirations you can make a good child. As a teacher, I was a very tough teacher. My subject was Sanskrit. It is a headache, not a subject. Teachers don't like to teach. Students don't like to study. I was so lucky to have that subject because it was a headache to me. So lucky person I am. So I had to be tough. I had to punish. Whether I like or not, I had to punish to make them study. Later on, when I study about this Buddha's character, admirations, I try to use this when I am teaching to admire the persons, the students who study hard. And I was successful. Students, when I punish them, they study hard and they hate me. When I admire them, they study hard and they love me to get the admirations. We can use that admirations. Though you can wipe out all the bad, all the mistakes of your children's lives, you can raise up the good qualities with your admirations. Admire them. With the neighbors, with the friends, admire your children. Admire your children. You can have the results. You can test and check and you can have the results. Another last, I know this is a working day. You must be very tired and I see the sleepy faces. Okay, no problem. Today, last topic means last thing. This is important. We must understand being a Buddhist doesn't mean being a vegetable. You can cut me and kill me. No. Being a Buddhist means you are being strong. You hold your position no matter what are the forces you are trying to push you away, throw you away, kick you out. You are always holding your position. That is Buddha. Buddha never gave up his position. No matter how powerful the opponents were, he always adhered to his position. Before the enlightenment, as a bodhisattva, sitting under the tree, who came to throw him away? The devil, Mara. Did he come alone? No, the 10 forces of Mara came. Thousands of soldiers. Did he move? No, he protected his position. After the enlightenment, so many religionists, they tried to force the Buddha away. They did so many things to throw the Buddha away. But the Buddha always protected his place. Once Venerable Ananda says, Oh Lord, we cannot bear these insults anymore. Let's go to the other city. We must move to the other city. Buddha says, if the next city also starts blaming us, what happened? Then go to the other city. He smiles and says, oh no. It doesn't work. We just wait. These insults will fade away. Don't do anything. Let the time solve the problem. That is the method. There are problems we can solve. Right? They are in our power. We can solve them. But 98% of your problems usually solved by time. Let the time solve. Don't be hurry. But don't lose your position. Don't be a vegetable. Be a good Buddhist. But don't be a vegetable. Buddha was not a vegetable. He always, even the devils, Alavaka Sutta you see. You read Alavaka Sutra. He never leaves his position. Even when he was confronting with the devils, he always held on to his position. If you leave your position by the fear of your opponents, you are not following the Buddha. Okay, as the time permits, we have discussed. Of course, we talked about these matters. What are those? Remember, Pubbahasi first to smile, Pubbahasi first to speak, Pubbakari first to act. Expect the mistakes and weaknesses of others. Look for the good side. Admire the good. Don't be a vegetable, but be a good Buddhist. If you are a good Buddhist, you will never give up your position. These are the matters we discussed. Okay, if you are not tired, now we are not guests. I was a guest before. You are guest to me. Now we are not guests. You can ask questions no matter whatever they are. You can ask questions.
Dear devotees, could you please use the mic? Just for the purpose of recording.
Bhante, I'll probably sound a little bit controversial that the title, the Buddha as a human being, is a misnomer, that is not quite correct. Because the Buddha denies that he is a human being. And I think in one of the suttas, in Anguttara Nikaya, called the Dona Sutta, there was a conversation between the Buddha and the Brahmin donor, where the Brahmin donor noticed the peculiar footprint of the Buddha with the wheels and the spokes and hub, and the Brahmin decided to find out who the Buddha was. So the Brahmin asked the Buddha, Master, are you a Deva? The Buddha said, no, I'm not Deva. Then the Brahmin said, are you a Yaka? The Buddha said, no, I'm not Yaka. Then the Brahmin said, are you a Gandhava spirit? The Buddha said, no, I'm not. Then the Brahmin said, Master, you must be a human being. The Buddha said, no, I'm not a human being. And the Buddha told the Brahmin that three conditions when they are present in an individual, they may be described as a human being. And these are lust, hate and delusion. And the Buddha says that these conditions are absent in me. They have been uprooted. And the Buddha further went on to say that just like a lotus that's born in the water, grows in the water, rises above the water, but remain unsoiled. I, Brahmin, was also born as a human being, grown up as a human being, but I've transcended the world and remained uncontaminated by the world. Therefore, my identity is unique. You may call me awakened one. So the Buddha says that he's not a human being.
Yeah. Okay, no need to explain anything, but you said all the sutra. So my idea is, he was a human being, right? He was in the world, but not of the world, right? He was, as you already said it, he is a man, but the thing is, he doesn't have the defilements we have. But his life continues as a man. His life was not so much of different from another man. As I told you, his body became old, weak, got diseases. Because the body remains as a man. And the beautiful thing is, he always acted in the normal way. We very rarely find any supernatural or any miracles he uses. He just walk. We don't find easily that he travels through air or vanishing from one place and coming up again another place, walking on the water, turning water into wine. No. We can't find anywhere miracles. So that is why I use these instances. As a man, we can follow this. These are the things that Buddha had. If I talk to you and I can tell you about the miracles he can perform, but they are out of our ability. They are good for our education, knowledge, but we cannot do that, right? But I told you these qualities. As a man, he had these qualities. You can find these are human qualities, but these qualities beautify our lives. That is what I wanted to say. Of course, he himself says, name me as the Buddha, not a man. The only reason is no defilements. No defilements. In that case, we cannot say even the Arahants are human beings. Even we cannot say we can't name them as men. They are Arahants. The word is Arahants. That is only applicable to them. Because enlightenment is for a Buddha and Arahants are similar. Enlightenment is similar. Their knowledge is similar. Enlightenment. Destroying of cankers, kleshas are similar. So even Arahants, we cannot say men. They are Arahants. The only thing is, they are human being. Their nature is humanity. They are out of defilements. That is the difference. Out of defilements and in the defilements. His denial of humanity is not, he is out of a human being. He is a human being. Denial of defilements. That is the difference. Okay?
Can we take another question?
No problem.
Any questions? The devotees? Can I ask?
Okay. Yeah.
Since Bhante said that Buddha as a human, but usually what I've learned or what I've heard is we cannot say that the Buddha died. We say that the Buddha entered Parinibbana. But if for layperson, I don't even understand what is Nibbana, then how would I know about Parinibbana? But is it wrong for me to say that the Buddha passed away or the Buddha died? Will I get any bad karma?
No. I will tell you this. If I explain you another talk, So, I tell you, a lamp, you light it up, a lamp. It extinguishes, okay? Can you find anywhere the wick of the lamp gone or the light goes? No. The light is just gone. Parinibbana is such. It is just as if the light vanishes, the vijnana, the energy inside vanishes. But we are not such. We are monkeys. We jump from this body to another body. We are bound by a tie, bound by a rope to our neck, to the world. We cannot go anywhere. We are just continuing the circling. Right? So we die. Buddha's parinibbana. Parinibbana means extinguishing of a lamp. That is the only example. Easily understanding example, parinibbana. That's why we use that word. But same thing happens. So you can use the words with respect. We use the word with respect. We use parinibbana. But even though you say die with respect, no matter. For the respectations, we use that word. Same thing happens, but different manner. Did I make it correct or clear? Did I make it clear? Okay, no more questions? Okay.
Okay, let's say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu to Bhante for the talk today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now we would like to ask Bhante to guide us for the transference of merits.
Okay, let's transfer these merits, especially to our departed ones. Merit is your happiness. May this happiness be a light. May this happiness be a power. May this happiness be a comfort to our departed ones. May all the departed ones be rejoiced with this happiness, with these merits. May their lives become peaceful, happy, blissful. May all our departed ones be rejoiced with these merits. Idamme jnatinang hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo. Idamme jnatinang hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo. Idamme jnatinang hotu sukhita hontu jnatayo. May all the deities, devas, be rejoiced with these merits. Akasatta cha bummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu loka sasanam. Akasatta cha bummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu desanam. Akasatta cha bummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu mam paranti. Blessings of the Sangha. Abhivadana silissa niccang vaddha pacayino cattaro dhamma vaddhanti ayuvanno sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate samicchatu.